Third down and 20.
Deshaun Watson is rumored to possibly be requesting a trade from the Texans. This is mainly caused by the fact that, A, the Texans suck. You know, you just look at the moves that
They're not
GM
good.
of the year, Bill O'Brien, made. Everyone knows. Trading away DeAndre Hopkins, one of the top receivers in the NFL. And in general, the trade for Laramie Tunsil ends up just blowing up in their face. All these moves have really just culminated into the fact that now the Texans would have been picking third in the draft, but they are without their first and second round picks. They have no talent aside from J.J. Watt, basically, on the defensive side of the football, and a handful of other guys. It's not that they have zero players. And now just Deshaun Watson may want out. So, Steed, first off, do you think Deshaun Watson requests a trade? And also, just real quick, he's gotten very pissed off because they went out and hired a GM, Nick Caserio, who is the director of player personnel from New England from 2008 to 2020. He was told he was going to be involved in the process, but was not. Steed, what do you think?
Well, yeah, if I was told that I was going to be involved in the process and then yet I'm not, that was an abundant lie, I'm going to be very mad, and then I'm going to look at a franchise, even though they've given me money. What did you do for me this year? You didn't put anything around me. You gave me a old head and David Johnson that really didn't produce, maybe a little bit towards the end. You got rid of my favorite target. You gave a defense that couldn't do anything out there. So I'm going to be pissed about that, and I truly don't think he's going to be traded unless he truly requests a trade and pulls some Jamal Adams stuff, because I still think if they hire the right head coach, he'll if they get Bieniemy, the Chiefs OC, I still think that would be a good match for him, and he would be able to heal the relationship and get trust back there. But if that doesn't happen, and I could see him going, but I think it's less than likely to me.
Yes, I agree with you. I do not believe that Deshaun Watson will be ended up traded for a couple of reasons. The first being that I do think that the Texans will try everything possible to mend the broken relationship with Deshaun Watson. I think the other scenario that we're going to get into now, assuming Deshaun Watson does request a trade, or the Texans start shopping him out, where is he going to go? So one of the reports that initially came out was saying, whatever you think you could give up for Deshaun Watson, it's more. So that's already a little bit of a buyer beware, it feels like, from the Texans organization, saying, hey, you're going to have to give up a metric ass ton to get this guy. So I did this little thing where I valued Deshaun Watson as the first pick in your standard NFL draft. Not this NFL draft, because obviously there's Trevor Lawrence, and if you go by what I went by, the Jimmy Johnson trade value chart, the first overall pick would be valued in a vanilla draft at $3,000. This draft, it would probably be valued at $4,000 plus, just because this is a generational quarterback prospect, and you would have to give up that 4,000 value is 4-5 plus first round picks, and that's including some top tier first round picks. So let's just assume here, and this may be lowballing a little bit, that Deshaun Watson is valued at $3,000 on this trade chart. I went through all of the teams that were rumored to be in the running for Deshaun Watson. So let's start here going through all the teams. This includes the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Washington football team, the Patriots, the Colts, the Bears, and the Jets. I think that those are the teams right now that desperately need a quarterback and would be willing to give up for Deshaun Watson. So before we start this, Steve, if you had to choose a spot for Deshaun Watson to go, where do you think he would end up?
I still like the Patriots a lot because I think it makes a lot of sense. And, Belichick's an older coach, and maybe he doesn't want to draft a quarterback this year. Just give him someone with, who's already been in the league, proven himself, and, Deshaun's at MVP caliber, where we've seen that even though they paid for corner Stephon Gilmore, we've seen the Patriots walk away from players and not pay them before. They could trade a young corner in J.C. Jackson and then trade away some 3 of their first round picks for the next 3 years and this year's second. And I would think that gets it pretty much close to being done. And that would just be a good spot for him landing in New England.
Okay, so let's start with the Patriots then. The Patriots' 15th overall pick is valued at 1,050. Let's throw in their second round pick as well, which would be valued at 440, pick 46. Their 2022 first, I value around 800 on this trade value chart, which would basically be that first round wildcard exit team with a slight discount for being a year in the future, and their 23 first at 750 for a similar thing, but more of a discount because it's in the future. That would add up to 3,040, which would probably not be enough because if you, historically speaking, to trade up in the draft, according to this trade chart, you need to overpay by a decent margin to get the team that has the high asset to pull the trigger. It's not always the case, but generally speaking, that is what the case has been. So you said add in J.C. Jackson as well.
Yeah.
Depending on where you value J.C. Jackson, I think you're right. That would be pretty darn close to getting the trade done. Let's just assume that J.C. Jackson is valued at a second round pick, which may be even a little bit conservative with the season that he had and his potential. That would equate to about 3,500 in value. I think you're right. Like, if he requests a trade, that's probably getting the deal done. I'm not even sure you have to give up J.C. Jackson. You may just have to give up a second round selection in 22 or 23, or maybe a small little package of third rounders and fourth rounders here and there, maybe some sort of conditional picks. And I think that would get the deal done, and that is also the reason why I think the Patriots, while it may seem a little out there, aren't really a terrible destination for Deshaun Watson to land. I think that when you compare him to some of these other teams that we're going to be looking into, there is a possibility here. They have the picks. It's not completely unreasonable. Yeah, they're giving up multiple first round picks, but because the fact that their selection at 15 carries a nice amount of value, plus their first round picks in the future, their 46 is not a bad pick at all. They still have some talent on the roster. I don't necessarily see it happening if I'm the Patriots. I think that they need more of a team. But at the end of the day, compared to some of these teams that we're going to be bringing up, not completely unreasonable. So let's get into the next team, and one of the teams that he has been rumored to go to a lot, and that is the Dolphins. And for good measure, this is an organization that has a clear path to being able to trade for Deshaun Watson. If you give up pick 3 and pick 18, that is worth 3,100 in value. You add Tua in there, which is a replacement quarterback, a guy who was picked 5th overall last draft. If Deshaun Watson is requesting a trade, that's probably one of the best trades that could happen. And whether you're giving up Tua or not, you just assume they are so that they can get a quarterback back so that they can use that number 3 overall selection on the best player available or even to trade down for more picks. But that seems like a great scenario for both sides, and it works in terms of the value if Deshaun Watson is valued as the first overall pick or even a little bit more than the first overall pick in your vanilla draft. What are your thoughts on that one, Steed?
Yeah, I think that would be really good. I think it's funny that the Texans would be trading for their spot in the draft, because for the previous trade. But yeah, I think that definitely gets it done. From the Dolphins' standpoint, still the book's not out on Tua, but to get Deshaun, and how thin it is to win the Super Bowl when you have a really good team. Does Deshaun get you there with that team? That's a question, or do you just keep building around Tua? But let's say they do that trade, and the Texans only do it because they like need a quarterback and want to be safe with Tua, but they're sitting there at 3. Do they just take best player available or just say screw it? Like we kind of like Zach Wilson too, and then just take him and try to move Tua.
So the other possibility that the Dolphins could have that I was trying to think of without giving up both pick 3 and 18 in the draft is that you could give up pick 3 probably has to go. At the end of the day, it carries too much value. It has to be
Yeah, it
traded if
has
you
to.
want
Yeah,
Deshaun
it's
Watson.
gone.
But you could give up both of the Texans selections that you got from Larry Tunsil, pick 3 and 36, Tua, selection 80 in this draft, and then probably a 22 or 23 second or a package of other mid to later round picks. And that also might be able to get the deal done. It's definitely less value. You know, it's not that clean 3,100 value. You get 2 good first round picks and Tua, but you're floating around the high 20s. It's somewhere around 2,700 to 2,900, depending on how, some of these future picks are valued. But let's just assume you give up 336 and a first next season. That plus Tua, I imagine that's pretty darn close to getting the deal done. You keep pick 80 and you keep pick 18 this year to draft a receiver. That might be pretty enticing if I'm the Dolphins, because at the end of the day, I still have my first round selection this year, which could easily be a Rashad Bateman, a Jalen Waddle, a Rondale Moore, a Kadarius Toney, a guy that could be a number 1 receiver on my team. We still have Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. We add Deshaun Watson, and then we still have selection, I think it's 50 something with their second round pick, and selection 80. We give up the first next year, but all of a sudden we have Deshaun Watson, a couple of still quality selections this year. Yeah, we don't have the first next year, but this is all of a sudden a team that's looking like it can compete now and possibly dethrone the Bills, who were looking insane in just one offseason.
Yeah, for out of all the teams that where Deshaun can land, it's definitely Miami that has all the ammo that can pull this off and not really jeopardize losing a lot in return. They have so many picks; they can go away any way about it, and it's really interesting to see if it does happen, do they jump on it?
Yeah, I mean, I completely see why, just because of the ammunition they have and the different combinations they can put together that works for both sides. If Deshaun Watson wants out, the Dolphins are going to be one of the favorites for him to go there. So now let's get into some of the other teams. The 49ers are probably another team that people really like Deshaun Watson to go to. And in terms of the ammunition, I think they have enough. The problem with the Niners is their cap. And me and Steve were talking before the episode. Let's just go with the combination that they need. Probably they need to give up 12, which is 1,200 in value, probably 43, which is another 470. So now we're sitting 1670. Give up the 22 first, which I value around 700 to 750, just because that 49ers team is going to be looked at as a playoff team. So now we're sitting at around 2,400. Probably have to start throwing in a bunch of other selections, most likely that 23 first. And that may start getting the deal done. But the problem is you're in a bad cap scenario. You're giving up 3 first round picks and a second round pick, maybe even more picks. My whole thing is, if I'm the GM of the 49ers, I think I would rather just trade up in the draft for less of a price to get my shot at one of these quarterbacks, whether it's Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, or even maybe stay put and take someone like a Mac Jones or a Kyle Trask if you like him, rather than give up so much draft capital for a guy that already is not on that rookie deal. Because we got to pay Bosa. We're probably going to have, this in the future, right? While Deshaun Watson is there, while you're in the championship window, you're going to have to pay the defensive talent you drafted, a lot of defensive line guys. You have offensive linemen like that kid from Notre Dame that you drafted that you're going to have to pay, some good receivers. You just paid Kittle. Sooner or later, the money's going to run out. And if I get if I get a rookie quarterback for the next 5 years on a rookie deal, I can keep these guys around and maybe extend my championship window, even though we don't have Deshaun Watson. So I think the 49ers for me are a little bit too unrealistic with how much they'd have to give up in their cap situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think their smartest plan of attack would be just try to get one of these younger quarterbacks, have them on the rookie deal. You know, if you can get there with Jimmy G, you can get there with some of these talent quarterbacks in the draft, especially under Shanahan. If Shanahan really likes a guy, I'm sure like he is legit, and just kind of ride the rookie contract and get yourself back in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that's the way I would do it, not put the rest of your roster in jeopardy over just trying to trade for one guy to change the franchise when I think they're in a spot where, they just need someone in there that can kind of just run the offense and figure it out. You don't need that transcendent guy, even though, like, if you trade up, I mean, there's some great quarterbacks in this class that can get the job done.
So now I'm going to lump together some of these next teams because they're all in a pretty similar spot. And let's just include Washington football team, Indianapolis, Chicago Bears, and then even a team like the Steelers, right? One of these playoff teams that needs a quarter, they're in an even worse spot. So let's take the team that has the highest draft capital in the Washington football team and apply it to all those other teams. But just remember that all those other teams would have to give up more because their picks are worth less. Washington football team, if they give up pick 19, pick 51, a 2022 first and a 2023 first, and selection 82. And in this valuation, I've valued their 2022 and 2023 first pretty favorably. Mm-hmm. They would add up to $29.95, not even at that 3,000 line that we set that we thought was relatively low. So, just to recap, that is 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick, and you're still not there. So, if you're one of these teams, are you really giving up more for that than that for Deshaun Watson? You're in the realm of you may have to give up 4 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson, a guy that's not even on a rookie. Yes, it's on a relatively favorable contract. I'm not acting like Deshaun Watson, yeah, he's getting paid a decent amount, but in terms of what you'd have to pay a quarterback at his level now, it's a pretty favorable deal, but it's not a rookie deal. So if for all these teams, it's 3 firsts, a second, and a third this year. Well, 3 firsts in total, a second and a third this year, right? Is still not enough. I'm not sure if I'm a GM, I can pull the trigger on a deal like that, no matter what team I am. I think it's just too much. What are your thoughts for all these teams? And not to mention real quick that the Bears are in a similar cap spot to the 49ers, right?
Yeah. I think that's just really tough. I think you're just giving up too much for him, to be honest with you. I know that he's a top 10 quarterback. He's a great talent. Like, it's just at what cost? Like, you lose half your draft this year, and then you lose, 2 of your first-round picks for the coming years because of it. It's just like you're giving up your future for this guy, hoping that you can win with him. I mean, I think that's a lot of – you put in a lot of stock into him, and I'd rather just keep my eggs in different baskets and draft other players.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you wanted a quarterback, I think that these teams, you just better off maybe taking more risk, but giving up less draft capital to move up to take a quarterback either this year or next year, or even trying to play the free agency game. Let's say Stafford is in free agency. I think I'd rather just try to pick up someone like him, maybe even trade for a Matt Ryan, who's supposedly on the block, because I think you're right. The fact is, unless Deshaun Watson really forces his way out and the price goes down for him, which could happen, if he gets really pissed off and they completely blow the head coaching situation and he says, I'm going or I'm just sitting and not playing, and then the price goes down for him, okay, then that's different, right? Because then you don't have to give up, 4 firsts for him. But where the situation is right now, I think you're right. It's just too much. And, that's for the most positive case in terms of the Washington football team whose picks this year are valued highest. you look at a team like the Colts, who are 2 picks down, whose selection loses 75 value from the first round, another 30 value in the second round. Like, that's another future second, future third round pick that you have to add on. It's like, okay, yeah, we know Deshaun Watson is good, but at what price is it just too ridiculous? And at what price would you rather just move up in the draft for not giving up 4 first round picks to take a prospect that I don't have to pay as much? And it's a little more risky, but if it pans out, the reward is too great, and I still have a future.
Yeah.
But last team, the Jets are another team that has the possibility, just because I don't really see this one happening, and I'm not sure Deshaun Watson wants to go from the Texans to the Jets, but
yeah, not much of an upgrade.
Regardless, you give up pick 2 and pick 23 this year, I think that's enough if you're the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of value, you're at about 3,300, 3,400 value. You can't ask for much more there.
Yeah, and then with that second pick, you could take someone like Fields and then fill in the gaps from there.
Yeah, you have your run of the mill at quarterback. You can take whatever, aside from Trevor Lawrence, you can take whatever quarterback you want.
Yeah, you're the next one up. What do you want? so and
that could easily get done. You may not even have to give up 2 and 23. You might be able to give up 2 and seconds and what, like, just the fact that you're giving up pick 2, which is a quarterback, or I mean, if you don't want to take quarterback, if you're the Texans, you trade Deshaun Watson and you don't, I'm not sure why you would pass up on a quarterback. It's just too important. But regardless, that could be Devontae Smith or Penei Sewell right now, or Jamar Chase or whoever, which is still a top quality prospect. Or you could trade down for a haul for a team that wants to trade up for a quarterback. So, like, the fact of the matter is, if you have pick 2, you could trade for him. It's in the realm of possibility. That pick 2 carries a ton of value. I don't even think you'd have to get, if you really wanted to keep on to 23, I don't even think you'd have to give it up.
It'd be interesting. It's just, I wonder if the Jets, the Jets are just such a question mark too, and I don't think they're going to figure out what they're going to be doing. I mean, this all matters until Deshaun Watson is like, yeah, I want to be traded. Like, it's just all rumors right now, kind of thing. But
and it's fun to talk about. We both said we don't think he's going to be traded, and also, like, I just don't. If you're the Jets, why would you trade for him? You're just not really a team in position to. But at the end of the day, it's in the realm of possibility. If you really like him, let's just say you don't like the quarterback prospects from your analysis. If you're Joe Douglas, and you say, hey, we can give up this 2 pick and a third or a second and pick up Deshaun Watson, a guy we know is good, and still have draft capital, not completely out of the realm of possibility. And on top of the fact that they have a ton of